Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. In this episode, I'm going to tell you about a young man that came into the prison system, man, and got put down, you know what I'm saying, on the hood and ran into a whole lot of problems because, you know, he liked boys. Now, the question is, did he like them before or after? That's what I'm going to break down to you in the story. You know what I'm saying? Before or after he became, you know what I'm saying, a Crip, right? Because I'm telling you, this story here, man, it blew my mind as to how it played out, right? So I was like, man, I really got to share this with my people, you know what I'm saying? So that they'll know what's going on up in here, right? So that's what this is going to be about, you know what I'm saying? The gay Crip that ran into some problems. He ran into some problems, man. But this story is a little bit different than other than just saying that he's a gay Crip. I'm going to just tell you how all of this stuff played out, right? So sit back, y'all, relax, and enjoy this show. Now, this young brother comes into the penitentiary system, right? He's unaffiliated at this time. Unaffiliated. And he got them hands. And see, a lot of times, that's how people end up getting recruited. You know, the gangs are set in the cut and they'll watch to see if you can fight. You know, just, random stuff comes up in here. We're in the penitentiary. Everybody's getting mad about one thing or another, and you end up in a fight. So this young brother, he ends up in a fight with somebody, and I'm talking about this man throwing hands. He looked like Mayweather. I'm talking about he's standing there and he taking licks into the face, but he delivering them, and he popping them like he's been trained. Now, everybody's standing back watching to see how this thing playing out. He taking care of his business. This young boy taking care of his business, so they start bumping down on him. Man, what's going on with you, man? What's up with that? Because here's what it is when you're in the penitentiary, right? When you're talking about trying to recruit somebody. You know what I'm saying? If you see somebody that's got them hands and you think later on down the line, no, we ain't trying to be tackling this dude here. You know what I'm saying? Taking him on in any way, shape, or form, because if we do, we're going to have to gang him. You feel me? If he catch one of us, he got enough. He's good enough with those hands where he can really do it to us, right? So at the end of the day, if you can't beat him, what? You join him. So they got at him, you know what I'm saying? And he was young. He was 20 years old, right? And the problem that this presented for them was this. You know, when you're going through the background, you asking all the different types of questions and all this old kind of stuff, right? One of the questions that usually comes up, and it did in this situation, but you usually get the answer, no, that ain't this and no, that ain't that, because most people will either tell you the truth that they've never done it, or if they have done it, they'll just tell you a lie. You feel what I'm saying? So this young brother here, he had messed with boys before he came to prison. You feel me? Now, I don't know if he identified as being gay or whatever the case may be, but looking at him, you wouldn't be able to tell, okay? And that ain't straight either. People say, I could look at somebody and tell. That ain't straight. That ain't straight. Don't be stereotyping people like that. But anyway, the point is, you couldn't tell about this brother. And I'm just saying that for the sake of this story. You couldn't tell. This brother looked like the prototype alpha male, if that helps you get an image in your head. And he could defend himself. He carried himself well. He wasn't no sucker. You know what I'm saying? Not to say anything about anybody that may be gay. You know what I'm saying? None of that. I just want you to understand this story to the depths that you need to understand so you can get a mental picture in your head. Now, the one thing that they told him when he told him that, said, look, if you know what I'm saying, join, you can't be doing none of that. You feel what I'm saying? You can't be doing none of that. Now, we know that stuff happens. We know this does. But they're not going to openly advertise that it's okay for you to do it if you become a member. They're going to tell you that's off limits, and if you do it, this is what's going to happen to you, bro. Whoop-de-woo, this, that, and the third, right? And that's what they told him. You can't be getting down like that. Now, he wanted to be a part of the Crips so bad that he agreed. And when he agreed, he locked himself in. You And when I say locked himself in, he locked himself into, if they catch him doing that, consequences and repercussions, right? But that presented a problem for them as well, because one of the main reasons they wanted him to become a brother was why? Because he had them hands. They didn't care nothing about where he was from and who he hung around with or who recommended him to come. They peeped something when they were leaning in the cut watching him fight, and they wanted to put him on their team. And for the time being, they were willing to look the other way. The hypocrisy of this, y'all. They were willing to look the other way and bring him on in, knowing that he liked to get down. You feel me? So they brought him on in, made him a Crip. Now he doing his thing. He represented it to the fullest. And he had to do like everybody else. He had to come up through the ranks, and he came up through the ranks, taking care of his business. Now he ends up at a prison. We were at the same prison, but he had been moved around from place to place. And rumors would always come out here and there, and that's part of the game. It don't mean it's true. Rumors were always coming out, man, he had a boy down here, he had a boy down there, but nothing concrete. Nothing concrete. So when he hit the camp that I was at, again, the rumors swirled, and you had some brothers there that, they looked into it, they say nothing concrete here, ain't nothing really going on here. So he had this celly. The celly was a little, as we call in the penitentiary, he had them boy-like tendencies. You know what I'm saying? He had those boy-like tendencies. So, of course, Cuz already had these rumors floating around him, and now he's in the cell with somebody that got these boy-like tendencies. So now, everybody's talking. But listen, like I told you before, Cuz ain't no slouch. So if you run your mouth and you can't back it up, he might put that thing on you, man. Knock you straight on out. Because he had that reputation. And it was real. It wasn't one of those situations where you hype somebody up that can fight. Now, this brother could get down. I don't know if he was trained or what. But, man, look here. I saw him putting in work one time, man. Look here. I thought I was side on the ring side, man, at the Tyson fight, man. This man could hit hard. Well, he wasn't quite like Tyson. He was more like Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? Step in, pop, 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 back out. I'm talking about he's working like that. And he punishes people. He just beating people up for fun. He might get hit once or twice, but this is one of those dudes, he'll stand in there, he'll take a lick to give one. He had that kind of joke. And he'll laugh at you while he beating you up and all of this. So a lot of people didn't want to deal with him. He gonna embarrass you, gang member or not. Black, white, Latino, it didn't matter. Stand toe-to-toe with him, you're doing something. You feel me? He one of these type dudes, you get into it, man, go on and pull out that butcher. We ain't finna play no game with him. For real. Because he real deal Holyfield. There ain't nobody finna embarrass now one up. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it real. That's just how it was back in the day. So here's the thing. When the rumors start to swirl and everybody's talking about it, all right, it turns out that it was true. Him and his celly is shaking the spot at night after the lockdown. They're in there doing all kinds of things. All kinds of things. How did it get out? Well, one night, some of these officers, they talk a lot. They'll tell, especially if they know that like if this person's affiliated, they'll stir the pot just like we stir the pot. They'll say something to another gang member about this gang member, that gang member, just stirring the pot, just being messy. So this officer, doing his rounds one night, he seen something. And he said something. Now, that always amazed me because a lot of people, they'll take the word of an officer before they'll take the word of somebody in blue. I mean, if an officer says it or somebody in administration, it's almost like it's the law. But if they say something against them, then they listening to it, they looking at it like, man, it ain't true. It ain't true. But if they say something about somebody else, they'll use that as truth and fact to persecute that person. So when this officer put that out there, it's like, man, the officer seen it. They ain't got no reason to lie. All of that old kind of stuff. But anyway, it turns out that it was true. He was in there, they were getting down. You know what I'm saying? I think he would get some head or something from the boy, something like that. Anyway. So The officer didn't write it up, so they really couldn't prove that. But his Crip brothers, I'm talking about, they all on the yard because they more concerned about being embarrassed. They really weren't concerned that he was doing it. They were more concerned that he got caught doing it. That's all that was. So here's the thing. So cuz tell him, man, ain't nothing, man. I ain't nobody doing that. I told y'all on everything, it ain't this and ain't that. So cuz and them do an end around and they go to the boy. They start getting at the boy. Now the boy is scared. He's between a rock and a hard place. You know what I'm saying? He don't know what to do. Because if they want to hear this, they're willing to beat this boy up to make him just say whatever it is they want him to say, true or not. Like I said, it's turned out to be true, but they were going aggressive at this boy. So he thought that he had this bond with cuz that he's in the cell with. So he told him, he said, look, man, they putting a lot of pressure on me. They threatening to hurt me. Can you help me? Can you get them to stop talking to me like that? So cuz just tell him, look, this man, stick to the story. Stick to the story, you're going to be fine. They're not going to do nothing to you. They're just saying they're going to do something to you. So he's back out on the yard, man. They popped down on that boy and beat him up. Not bad, just a little tap up, just to give him a little taste of what it's going to be like if he don't come all the way with the info. So the boy go back to the cell that night. He got a little scrapes and bruises on, nothing major, but don't nobody want to be going through all of that. Don't nobody want to be going through all that because everybody's watching and paying attention now. It's like, what they got going on? They done jumped on this boy, slapping him around, and then he's got to walk around like that. And then here, you get to thinking, everybody going to think that I'm going to push over this, and that, right? And this boy never had no problem. He don't bother nobody. Now he's really scared. So he goes back to dude that night. He's telling cuz, look, cuz, he thinking this guy cares about it. He said, man, I can't take no more of this. I'm not going to keep on letting these guys beat up on me. They want me to tell them what we got going on, what we're doing. So now cuz is feeling threatened. And I told you he got them hands, man. I told you he got them hands. So he's telling the boy, keep your mouth shut or you're going to have more than them to worry about. So the boy taking privileges thinking that he ain't going to hurt me. He's not going to hurt me. The boy really had feelings for him. And look here, he did not think about what cuz had to lose. And see, now cuz is being selfish. He only cares about himself. He ain't thinking about that boy. And he smacked the boy. And the boy get to holler. Then he start choking him out. So he can't holler. He don't want nobody to hear. Then he started beating him because he got scared. And when he finished beating that boy lay on the floor unconscious. Blood everywhere. He wasn't dead. But this wasn't a situation where you can just get up and wash your face off and everything is straight. He beat the brakes off of that boy. Beat the brakes off of him. So when the boy come to, he's helping him clean himself up, but he looks a hot mess. He cannot go to his job. He cannot come out of that cell because if he does, they're going to lock both of them down. And then cuz and them going to see it. So what does he do? What does he do? He does the only thing he can do. If he stays in that cell, he fears that he's going to be beaten to death. If he don't tell cuz and them what's really going on, he's scared they're going to beat him up too. He checks in. He goes to the administration and tells them that his life is in danger and he needs to be protected. And they put him in protective custody. And when they put him in protective custody, you got to have a reason. You got to have a reason. He didn't want to tell him that he got beat up in the cell. He didn't want to tell him he got beat up outside the cell. But the evidence was there. The boy broke down and told him. He said, I got to fighting with my cellie. But he didn't tell him he got to fighting with his cellie about them being lovers. That ain't what he told him. He said that they had a misunderstanding and they got to fighting. So they take him to the hole. This boy's still trying to protect him. And it worked. He goes to the hole. Now, cuz get to write the narrative. So he told cuz and him, he said, look, I just got tired of him running his mouth. Now they looking at it suspicious because they like, it's mighty funny that you would beat him up now when we're trying to find out what you got going on. It's mighty funny. They was like, look, we still gonna look into this. So Cuz and them did like a lot of gang members. They got desperate, so they said, look here, we need you to go on in the back. They had one of their own brothers. We need you to go on in the back, check in, go in the back, find out what's really going on with him, and then you come back out and let us know. So one of the Crips dudes, he went and checked in. It ain't a real check-in like that. That's what happens in here, y'all. I'm telling you, when you want to find out something, somebody will check in behind you to come in and put in some work while you in here. So you don't get away by going to check-in. You feel me? So Cuz checked in, went in the back, and it took him a while because you first go in the back, they got you segregated or whatever, you know what I mean? So it took him a minute to get to dude, and when he finally got to dude told him the truth. Because he was like, if they're willing to come in the back to get me, I can't get away. So he went on and told the truth. He was like, yeah, we were having a relationship. He did beat me up because he was scared that I was going to tell y'all the truth. That's what the boy told me. So Cuz ended up coming back out. He got back out on the compound, went to his brothers. They had a meeting, and he told them all what was up. He told them all what was up. So they had a meeting down on the yard. Now, you got to keep in mind, all the affiliations are hearing about this stuff. So now we out there, we listening and watching and stuff like that from a distance. We know what's going on, and we know the body language. So Cuz over there, I'll tell you, I told y'all this boy can fight. I'm talking about fight. Told you he cold. So they down there on the yard, they arguing and all this and that. And he telling them, man, y'all ain't gonna put your hands on me about none of this. You're not finna put your hands on me. I done told y'all that y'all gonna take the word of this boy with mine. You're not finna put your hands on me. I told y'all I ain't doing nothing. And they were really trying to get him to go on and admit it, but he didn't admit it. And as long as he didn't admit it, they really had their hands tied. They didn't want to do nothing anyway, because in other situations, I'm telling you, when you ain't supposed to be taking the word of a peon, if they really trying to get you, they're going to take the word. They're going to take the word of that peon. They're really trying to get you. But they really didn't want to go through that with him right now, because didn't nobody want to be the first one that he hit in the mouth, because he probably would have broke their jaw. I'm telling you, this man had hands, man. He had hands, and he knew how to use them. So this is what they did. They said, don't worry about it, cuz everything good, and shook on it and all this and all that. But then, look here. He got stupid. Started thinking that he done booed them down, and they scared of him. They ain't scared of him. They just calculating. It's trying to figure out the best way to get him. That's what they were trying to do. They wasn't worried about that. They just trying to figure out the best way to get him without getting beat up themselves. So look here. They said, well, we're going to do it like this. Cuz going to have to move in the cell with Cuz. He agreed to that. Because he figured, okay, after a while, this will die down too. Because it had in the past. Now the Crip move in the cell with him. Oh, that's just the plot. Because they done already told him, you finna put in work. And when you put in work, we coming. But they talking about these butchers now. Ain't nobody fighting. Because they already know the score. So after about 2 good weeks in the cell, 3 good weeks go by in the cell, the whole compound thinking ain't nothing. All of a sudden, man, they had a cold one day. Cuz is in the bed, sleep. He knocked out. Man, look at a young Crip dude done up the butch on him and caught him when he sleep and hit him right in the side. Now, you know he's scared. Think about that now. I want you to picture somebody laying on the bed, on their back, because that's what we were told. He laying on the bed on his back, right? He's knocked out. And you going to stick him in the side? That let me know the young dude was scared. But still, getting stuck anywhere is not a pleasant thing, because it will scare you so bad that you're going to get up, you're going to fight, but you're trying to get to the door. You're trying to get some help. So he hit him in the side with that butcher. I mean, a nice little lick. Nice little lick. Went all up in it. Scared him. When he woke up, blood is gushing up out of him, right? Gushing up out of him. But he fighting. And the young dude, he got the knife taped to his hand. There ain't no coming off. He just swinging that thing, they said. You know what I mean? This is in another part. I didn't get to see it. So he was just swinging that thing. He fighting for his life too. Every time he's swinging it, it's hitting Cuz. It's hitting him on his hand, his wrist, his forearm, his face, his chest, all this and that, right? By the time the police get in there, it's a bloody mess. It's a bloody mess. Now, don't get it twisted, man. The young dude, he got banged up too, right? But it wasn't like that butcher. Every time that butcher was hitting Cuz, it was slicing something, tearing him up. So when he go to the back, they got him in check-in now. He in the back with the boy. The boy see it, he hearing about it and all this and that. He crying because he feel like he's to blame. They put Cuz in the back. He don't come out on the compound no more. You know what I'm saying? So now he's in the back, can't come out on the compound no more. Guess what he does? He drops his flag. Sends words out to the compound, tell them the truth. You know what I'm saying? He said, I couldn't stop. This is what I want to do. He gave up his flag for it. So he kept doing it. He stayed in the back. You know what I'm saying? And he got transferred to another prison. Then he ends up getting out of prison. The boy ends up getting out of prison. From what I understand, they act on the town, living life. You feel me? Going on. I wanted to tell you that story because it is right. If you can't, whatever your authentic life is, what your true authentic self is, whatever that is, if you choose a lifestyle, you know what I'm saying, to like a gang lifestyle, and it won't let you live your authentic life, why would you do it? You feel me? Whether you straight or gay. Listen to me, y'all. Whether you straight or gay. Gang lifestyle will not allow you to live your best life. It won't. Because it requires you to give up so much of you to it. Whether you straight or gay. This story just happened to be about a gay Crip. You understand what I'm saying? That they were willing to overlook. You feel me? Because they want somebody that could fight. But whether you straight or gay, you cannot live your best life as a gang member because it requires you to give so much of you to it. Ponder that. It's a hard one, y'all. It's a hard one. And I understand why a lot of people live that lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm going to talk about right now before I go. That's why I wrote this book called Rivals. I did the episodes about it because I wanted you to see what it was like on the inside. And then this book, we really get into it about it. Because I wanted you to understand that, you know, a lot of people are trapped into this life. A lot of people choose this life. And if you're choosing this life, you might want to think twice about what it is that you're choosing. But let me read something to you so you get a better understanding of what this book is about, right? So it's about a father and son, Chris Sr. and Chris Jr., that were trapped in that lifestyle, in the gang lifestyle. And it caused them to have to go head to head with each other because one of them was on the other side of the other. You know what I mean? They were in opposite gangs. And when you're in opposite gangs, the ideology teaches you that the other side is the enemy. How can a father be the enemy of the son and the son be the enemy of the father? Come on now. Life happens and you don't like somebody, but if you have an ideology that teaches you to hate somebody, think about that. You hate somebody because they live on a different side of town, because they wear a different color of clothing, because they don't see things exactly the way you do. Think about that. These are the things that we're doing to ourselves. Self-hatred. But here's what this book is about. Rivals is a heart-wrenching, deeply introspective book that embarks on an extraordinary journey that explores the entangled lives of individuals trapped in the unforgiving grip of generational gang violence. It's set against a backdrop of crime-ridden streets, shattered dreams, and the haunting consequences of past actions. This compelling narrative delves into the profound depths of human emotion, revealing the complexities of love, loss, and the enduring pursuit of redemption. It's a hard journey, y'all. It's a very hard journey. And I would want you to understand that before you choose it, know what you're doing. If you're trapped in it, find a way out. Man. Hit me up in my comment section. Let me know what you think after y'all get this book. You can get this book, go to Amazon, type in Rivals, you know what I'm saying, and get this book, y'all. It's $20. It's $20. My books are mailed out once a week, y'all. Go check this thing out, right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.